Kia ora and welcome to Workers' Voice. Spend the next hour with us as we discuss the tribulations and triumphs of building workers' rights and increasing fairness in the workplace. This show is produced by Unite Union. Welcome again to another episode of Workers' Voice, where myself and my colleagues tell you all about unionism and to have a different theme every week. This theme that we're going to discuss today is industrial action, which is kind of really broad and a little bit vague. So specifically we're going to be discussing what it is, why people do it, what you could potentially do, and a recent law change that now limits who can actually do it. And sort of, I guess I would look at them penalties if you do it. Some people may not look at it that way, but I would. Things like docking your pay, etc. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And in the studio we have Angelyse Armstrong. Hello, Angelyse.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
And Angelyse is going to be talking to us about her experience as an organiser, bringing workers out on a picket line as part of industrial action during a large campaign that we had. How long ago was that, Angelyse?
That would have been...
Was that last year?
Last year.
And I'm going to be talking to you about some industrial action that I took as a worker years ago, before I sort of had any kind of large involvement in the union movement at all. I was a delegate. This is sort of around 2009, 2010, I think it was. And I'm going to be talking to you about some things that we did in our store. I worked at JB Hi-Fi back in the day. I can tell everyone where I worked because my association with them is long over. And I'll tell you a bit about what we did and how we felt about that. We're going to start off with a song by Elaine Perky, and this is a song called One Day More, and then we'll be back to tell you all about industrial action.
One day more, one day more. People, let me tell you what we're fighting for. We're fighting for our future, don't you understand? And we don't need your pity, we just need your helping hand. To fight one day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. One day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. If Emmett Boyle thinks he can win, he'll get a big surprise. 'Cause we're honest folks and we will shut him down his size. We'll throw out the guards, clean out the yards, cut that big bull down, but we'll still be around to fight one day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. One day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. We've got to change the way things are, make people understand. Our working class is being denied the rights in a free land. Our government lets criminals run free to steal again, and then takes the jobs of honest working women and men. We'll fight one day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. One day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. Let's change the laws, remove the flaws, and start all over new. Demand our rights, take back our land, spread freedom through and through. Keep the scabs out of the White House, vote union brothers in. And then the feds can't ever take us off in a ball and chains again. We'll fight one day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. One day more, one day more. If the company holds out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. One day more, one day more. People, let me tell you what we're fighting for. We're fighting for your future. Don't you understand? You won't need our pity, you just need our helping hand to fight one day more, one day more. If the companies can hold out 20 years, we can hold out one day more. One day more, one day more. If the companies can hold out 20 years, we'll hold out one day more. Thank you.
And welcome back. Welcome back to Industrial Action. So I'm here in
the studio. Did you just
yes, I just had a total blackout. So I'm here in the studio with Shanna.
That's my name.
The hotel's organizer. And obviously myself, Angelyse Armstrong. So we're going to talk about industrial action. So definition in terms of industrial action is action taken by employees of a company as a protest, especially striking or working to rule, to enforce their demands or to press addressing of their grievances.
So that's a fancy definition of industrial action. If you're like me and you like a kind of layman's explanation, it's basically like things that you can do on your work site to, you're kind of reminding your employer that you're a human being and you've got a bit of power too. You're reminding your employer of the value of your labour. And so you might do something like you might go on strike, for a week or longer. You might go on strike for half an hour even, which means you completely stop work. You walk out of your workplace and you just stop. Other things that you can do, things like go slows. You can just do everything really slowly, or you can do maybe every part of your job apart from one specific thing. So if you don't feel like emptying the rubbish, that could be something that you don't do for a period of time. You could wear a badge, for example. That's what I've done in the past. Angelyse, any other examples?
Well, I come from KFC. I was a previous KFC worker. And so you could, not necessarily that we had any strikes there in the past couple of years, but we were made aware of another one where you could do everything to procedure. And because there's a lot of procedures in how to make food, how to prepare a bun, how to cook a meat patty, at what heat that it should be at, or what temperature it should be at, and how much salad should go in, like 20 grams, 30 grams, or 40 grams, depending on the burger that's made. By doing everything to procedure, you're actually slowing down the process of getting the meal out to a customer.
Which is funny because you're supposed to do it to procedure anyway, but we all know that these policies and procedures that employers come up with are usually kind of slightly inhumanely impossible. So I find that quite funny because I suppose you couldn't get in trouble for that, could you?
No.
Because you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And there's always an expectation, especially in the food industry, where not necessarily cut corners, just make sure you can go faster.
Oh, that piece of chicken is 1 degree out. I'll just chuck that in the bin. Is it that kind of situation?
Yes.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, so it's just things that workers can do collectively just to give their employer a little bit of a reminder about who's really boss around here, And, I'm quite a big fan of doing things that are amusing, doing things that are kind of funny. So, you could all have a day where you come to work but you don't wear your uniform. You wear a giraffe onesie or a unicorn hat or something like that. I kind of like those kinds of things because I think it keeps it lighthearted and, gives the workers a little bit of a kind of a boost, a bit of an attitude boost at a difficult time. Our union has, in our possession, we're very lucky, we have a giant it's probably 2 stories high inflatable rat that we like to take around the place. There's also apparently a pig on the way, although I haven't seen the pig yet. I'm not sure if it's arrived, that we like to go and park outside of workplaces. We've been lending it out recently to First Union, who've been using it at Pack and Saves and Bunnings, I think. But I just find those kinds of things just to keep it lighthearted quite amusing because it can be quite stressful for the workers. I think also the public kind of like seeing that kind of thing as well. It gives them a bit of a laugh. But, you can do, you can have a big noisy picket. You can shut down the store or wherever you may be, shut down your site. You can stop the trucks going in. There's a lot of different options that range from being lighthearted and amusing to
serious and hardcore.
Being quite serious and hardcore, which, we've done some of those as well.
Yep, couple in the last couple of years.
Quite well known for those. But there's been some pretty extreme examples as well. Now, I think it's really important that when you think about workers taking this type of action, or if your workplace is considering taking this type of action, there is a point to it. You don't just do these things taking the mickey. It's actually something that has been thought out probably reasonably well in advance, planned out and strategised, and has the support of the workers behind it. So a lot of people think when they see a strike, it's probably only a couple of ragtag, dodgy pinkos, who have led the rest of the workers astray. But actually, to get to the point of taking industrial action, you have to be in negotiations. You have to have suffered, quite an extreme breakdown to the point where, you can't talk about it over a table anymore. You've probably been to mediation and tried to sort it out with Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment, otherwise known as Department of Labour, with an independent mediator, and you still haven't gotten anywhere, and you've had a vote amongst your members, and the vote has decided democratically that you are going to take industrial action. So it's not just a couple of random workers, it's not a couple of troublemakers in there, it's actually a decision that has been made by voting by those workers. So, take it quite seriously when you see it. So the reason that workers take industrial action is to force the hand of their employer into seriously considering, again, usually one of their claims that they've put forward in negotiations and bargaining. Some recent examples I can think of was the Auckland DHB workers. They were trying to take away their double pay on the weekends, I think it was, and also the Bunnings workers who've been on strike recently. They were trying to change the way that their rosters operated into an unfair system where people couldn't have enough control over it. So it's usually something that is really important to a large group of workers. It's not just a couple of people who've decided they want extra money or something like that. It's actually a big deal. It might be another good example, which is reasonably recent, is 0 hours. I think the vast majority of people would agree that 0 hour contracts are unfair, and that would be the type of thing that workers would take industrial action over as well. It's usually over issues of fairness. Sometimes it's pay, but recently, over recent years, we've actually noticed people taking more industrial action over other things like the rostering issues and
health and safety issues.
Health and safety is a big one, yeah, and 0 hours. So there's a point to it. When you're driving past these guys on the street, have a look at their signs. They're not just going, I want 10% pay rise. It's actually very rarely something like that. It's usually something that affects a broad group of workers and is an issue of fairness. We're going to play a song now by Dolly Parton, the weird and wonderful Dolly Parton. This is a favourite of mine because I'm old school sometimes. This one is called 9 to 5.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you're ready. 9 to 5. For service and devotion, you would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't watch him shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you got dreams he'll never take away. In the same boat with a lot of your friends, waiting for the day your ship will come in and the tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and you never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, yeah, they got you where they want you. There's a better life, and you think about it, don't you? It's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it. And you spend your life putting money in his wallet. 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, yeah, they got you where they want you. There's a better life, and you dream about it, don't you? It's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it. And you spend your life putting money in his wallet. 9 to 5.
And welcome back to our segment on industrial action. So why should our union workers and general public get behind and support people doing actions? There's one reason, and that's solidarity. If you're a union member, it doesn't matter what union you're attached to or you're paying fees to, you should support every single union member that is out there during their time of negotiations. And if they're having industrial action, you should be helping them out. A beep of the horn, getting out and parking your car up and standing on the corner or in front of the business for a couple of minutes, that's showing your support. By doing that, you're making people well aware that there's solidarity across all unions, and that workers, because it takes a lot to even go out on strike, but to actually have people to step up and say, look, I'll help you out, I'll come in for 5 minutes, I'll beep a horn at you, and showing that support actually gives them a lot more energy, and it makes them feel that, okay, people actually do feel for me and do care and do want to help me out.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when I was on strike, I still remember the people, the individuals, and I remember the other unions, and I remember the MPs that turned up. And I'll tell you what, I also remember the ones who didn't, and that was, 5-6 years ago. So, when you're a union, it doesn't matter what union you belong to. We're all fighting for the same cause, and that's fairness in the workplace. So I can't see why, you wouldn't toot your horn or stop and say hello, apart from shyness, which is a valid reason, but you shouldn't be shy when it's us, because we're your union whānau and we would love to see you. It was so awesome, Angelyse, at the KFC Kaikoui picket that they had there in Penrose. I got a couple of texts from my call centre workers who said, we're going down, because it was just sort of about 100 metres from where they worked, and they were about to go on their smoko break, and they let me know that they were going to go and tautoka those workers, which was so cool because that's exactly how it should be happening.
Yeah, and, for them to come out, they made the Kaikoui workers feel that they haven't lost, they're actually winning. Yeah. These people are actually standing up, helping out, coming down 5 or 10 minutes, even if it's during their break, showing their support. And that's what's needed for workers all around the country, is that we need to show other workers our support. If they're having industrial action, we need to be turning up and supporting.
It's so wonderful as well, the general public, how many people will come up to you when you're on a picket line or something and give you a high five or shake your hand or let you know, they'll go, oh, my grandfather was the union president 50 years ago, good on you young one, that kind of, those kind of comments, they really uplift you in a difficult time, because, you may not have had any funds coming in for a while, you're probably stressed out at work and getting some funny looks from the boss, and in a time of need, that kind of stuff really, it makes your day. just knowing that the general public are behind you. I love when buses go past when you're on a picket line because they always beep their horns. The truck drivers, the taxi guys will wave.
The ambos.
Yep, absolutely.
The people from the fire department.
That's always nice. They can stop by if they like. So, yeah, it's just about letting people know that you support them and it's a scary thing to get out there and stand up for your rights. Because, some people come from countries where if you do that, bad stuff happens to you. We're really lucky, and it is a privilege in our country that you can go and do those things. So, A, if you're in that position and you're doing it, then go hard. But B, know that other people support you. And if you're in the position to support someone doing it, then please do, because it really makes a difference to them. And, when a small group of workers makes a difference, then that can trickle over to other people. This isn't like that false capitalism argument where it trickles down. When a small group of workers actually stands up against something like 0 hours, and then suddenly it becomes a nationwide issue that everybody is talking about, and suddenly you're getting talked about in Parliament and they're starting to change laws, although we don't like these proposed law changes because they're not that great. But, you know that you can actually make things happen. And that was only a few thousand workers that did that together. The first group of workers that managed to get rid of 0 hours, there was only 100 of them together that stood up and they got that stuff done. And now, we're getting laws made about it and discussions in the beehives. So, those workers could be doing you a favour, actually, as well. So when you're driving past, toot your horn.
Beep, beep.
That's right. So, there's a lot of reasons that people are really afraid to take industrial action. Angelyse, you would have been through this as a union organiser, and I've been through it as a worker. So, what are some of those reasons that people get a little bit nervous?
Those, some people think that after they do a strike or industrial action, they'll have reduced hours.
They're afraid their hours are going to get cut. Right.
Yep, or they'll lose shifts, similar. They won't get any callbacks because a lot of the industry that I work in rely heavily on callbacks, and so you could be further down the list. So a callback is if somebody doesn't turn up to work or is on sick leave.
Oh, I see.
And they'll need additional workers to cover those shifts.
So that's quite important to people as a supplement to their income, is it?
Yes.
So people are afraid that their income will be affected.
A lot of the times, yes. But it's not necessarily true.
Especially if they work in a workplace that doesn't have 0 hours in their contract, that would be far, far less likely to happen to them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What are some of the other reasons that people get a little bit nervous, a bit afraid? Is it a bit awkward sometimes?
Yeah, usually. I'm not too sure because a lot of people would say that then the unionised workers or those who went on strike would get ostracised.
Oh, okay. Get
left out in the workplace. But I've never seen that happen myself.
Yeah. I think sometimes we fear these things. And they're a little bit like, when the kids are afraid of the monster under the bed kind of situation. To them, it's very, very real. And they are really quite, petrified kind of thing. Very scared. But when you actually look under the bed or when you actually take that action, nothing bad happens to you, and then you kind of realise, don't you, that what you're afraid of happening is very unlikely to actually happen. I can't think of many situations where workers have actually had a problem from going on strike or doing a go slow or anything like that.
No, not recently, no.
It's unlikely. I find that actually people feel quite good afterwards.
Yeah, gives them that extra energy to say, well, we can keep doing it until we get what we want.
That's right, yeah. And
it's not always about money.
Often it's not. As we've discussed earlier in the show, it's often not about money. I think also some people are just a little bit they don't want to draw attention to themselves, I think a lot of people get a little bit, don't look at me, I don't want to make loud noise, or I don't want to be in the photos, or maybe I'll stand here to the side, but I don't want to be in that noisy kind of group situation, because I suppose this is a country where we kind of don't like to draw attention to ourselves. We, do I want to call it tall poppy syndrome? Or?
Well, I was just going to say it is.
Yes.
We're not used to
I feel like
rocking the
it's-
boat.
Yeah, rocking the boat. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. We don't want to rock the boat. We'd rather sit on the fence and wait for someone else to take charge.
Or we'll wait and watch the ship sink.
There's that one too. Yeah, so people get nervous about it. But I find mostly, like, afterwards people feel really good. Yeah, especially, when you win, you feel good about it.
Well, we haven't had any losses.
Yeah.
It's all about the wins lately.
It's all about the wins. It'll happen at some point, but there's always a way around things, isn't there? So there's one other kind of person who gets a bit funny. Actually, no, there's a couple of things. There's people that get funny about industrial action who are in your workplace, but there's also people outside of your workplace that can get a little weird about it. So the people inside your workplace, the ones who keep on working, everyone will be out. And this has happened to me, like almost everyone will be out on strike, and there'll be one or two people who will just stay inside, like keep on making those boxes or keep on frying that chicken, because they're sort of worried about the boss's opinion of them. I cannot get inside the head of that person who is quite happy to let everyone else go out and do the hard mahi, and yet they'll stay in there frying that chicken, and then they'll take the benefits of it when that contract gets signed. I struggle with that, the psychology of that, we call them scabs, the scabs of the union movement, the people that are quite happy to take the benefits but not do any of the work, and
Or pay their dues.
Yeah, and they don't want to pay the dues either. It's a bit strange, isn't it? Freeloader.
Freeloader. That's
a nicer way of putting it.
That's a nicer way of putting
it. Yeah.
Scab.
It's really a difficult mentality for me to really understand. I'm not the kind of person who likes to be loud and be in lots of pictures or jump on a megaphone or anything, but
I'm not for a good cause.
Yeah, if it's for a good cause, and I'm not going to let someone else do the hard work just so I can benefit either. Selfish, as another way to describe it. It's really strange to me. But there's also, there's sometimes when you're on a picket line, there's the odd, member of the general public who'll come past you.
The
and
occasional heckler?
There is the occasional heckler. There's always about one, isn't there? Yeah, especially if you're on Queen Street or somewhere really busy, there's always one heckler, which is always sometimes quite amusing, but also strange, like what kind of person is walking around doing their shopping or like buying their lunch or having some sunshine in their lunch break, and they see a group of workers who are going, "We want a safer workplace. We do not want to get scarred at work anymore," or I would enjoy perhaps not going to work and worrying that I will die today. You see this group of workers doing this action, and they always got to go, "Oh, what are you doing, you troublemakers,
Get another job.
And I get that a lot. Get a job. And I'm thinking, this is my job. I get paid to do this, man. It's great. I got no complaints. But I just find that really weird. Like, what is wrong with people that they would take the time out of their beautiful day in the sunshine to go up to a group of workers trying to do a good thing and give them flack? Strange, isn't it? It's like the people on the internet that go and write nasty things to people.
The keyboard warriors.
The keyboard warriors. These are the lunchtime picket, put downer warriors. Not very nice people. And, so you do get that. But, I would say you get one on average per action, and the amount of toots and thumbs up and high fives and waves that you get from people far outnumbers. That's probably 100 to 1, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of 100 to 1.
Yeah, depending on what suburb you're in sometimes. I've certainly noticed a difference between suburbs sometimes. We probably won't name the suburbs. Depends how far north or south you are. So we're going to go on to a song now, which I felt like was appropriate for this segment of the show. This is a song by Pete Seeger and the Almanac Singers, and this is called Casey Jones' Union Scab.
The workers on the SB line for strikes had out a call, but Casey Jones, the engineer, he wouldn't strike at all. His boiler, it was leaking, and the driver's on the bum, and the engines and the bear, and they were all out of plumb. Casey Jones kept his junk pile running. Casey Jones was working double time. Casey Jones got a wooden medal for being good and faithful on the SP line. The workers said to Casey, won't you help us win this strike? But Casey said, let me alone, you'd better take a hike. Well, Casey's wheezy engine ran right off the wheezy track, and Casey hit the river with an awful smack. Casey Jones hit the river bottom. Casey Jones broke his blooming spine. Casey Jones turned into an angel. He got a trip to heaven on the SP line. When Casey got to heaven way up to that pearly gate, he said, I'm Casey Jones, the guy that pulled the SP freight. You're just the man, said Peter, our musicians are on strike. You can get a job as scabbing anytime you like. Casey Jones got a job in heaven. Casey Jones was doing mighty fine. Casey Jones went scabbing on the angels, just like he did to workers on the SP line. Well, the angels got together, they said it wasn't fair for Casey Jones to go around a scabbing everywhere. The Angels Union number 23, they sure were there. They promptly fired Casey down the golden stair. Casey Jones, I went to hell a flying. Casey Jones, the devil said, oh fine. Casey Jones, get busy shoveling sulfur. It's what you get for scabbing on the SP line.
And welcome back. So there's been a recent law change just at the beginning of the year in regards to industrial action, and so employer rights. Like, really? They're already making the big bucks. Do they need more rights?
They don't need rights, eh?
So with the law change, employers may suspend striking employees without pay, but that is only for the duration of the strike. So employers may suspend non-striking employees if the work they normally do is not available because of the strike. Employers may also reduce the pay, salary or wages employees would have received if there was no partial strike. They can access this using the following 4 steps. Identifying striking employees, usual hours of work for the days of the partial strike. Identify the work that the employees did not do because of the strike, using information from the strike notice. Estimate how much time the employees would have spent doing the work affected by the strike on the proposed day or days of the strike. And then calculate this time as a percentage of the employee's usual hours of work for the specified days. Alternatively, they can deduct 10% from an employee's pay. Employees may request other employees to perform the work of striking or locked out employees, and the other employees may agree to perform their work. Employers may not, however, require other employees to perform the work. Also, the employer may not employ new staff to do the work of the striking employees, except in the case of work that must be done for health and safety reasons. Where, however, the strike is unlawful, none of these restrictions apply. Employers may not discriminate against employees for taking part in a lawful strike.
That's right. Did you hear that? You may not.
So there shouldn't be any fears about industrial action.
Yeah, and on that sort of getting your pay docked as well, I haven't actually heard of that ever happening yet, and it would, you can do like a really short strike, for example, or you could make it difficult for them to calculate it, do 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off. There's ways around everything. I haven't seen it tested yet, but it certainly shouldn't put people off thinking about the bigger picture and trying to, get a fairer or safer workplace. So I was part of some strikes a few years back before I worked for a union, before I was a union official. And I was the lowly office lady at JB Hi-Fi in Wellington. And what interesting times they were. Before I got there, I barely knew what a union was, to be honest, because I'd never had the chance to be in one. I'd never worked in a workplace where there was one. But when I sort of found Unite Union and joined that, we ended up in a situation where we had to take industrial action for quite a long time. And what we did was, because people were a little bit nervous at the start and quite afraid, is we would go out on Friday at a lunchtime, 12 o'clock, and we would go on strike for 1 hour. So we chose the time that was going to do the company the most harm, and for us, Friday lunchtime was a big, that was where all the big spenders would come in and spend all their hard-earned cash. All the Wellington business people would come in their suits, and it's payday last night, so they would come and buy their TVs and their stereos and their MacBooks and stuff. So what we would do is we would all walk out between 12 and 1. And I have to say, like, the first time that it happened, I was kind of leading it, but everyone was in there. We were all in it together, and before it happened, there was a certain kind of nervous tension and energy in the air and stuff, and there were workers. There was a couple of workers that didn't come out, not the union workers, the non-union workers that stayed behind to do the work, but. Once we actually got up there, we had to actually go up because we worked in a horrible basement. We had to go up these escalators, and we were on the corner of Willis Street, I think it was, and Lambton Quay. Once we got up there in the sunshine, and we realised freedom for an hour, extended lunch break. It was pretty fun, actually. It was pretty awesome. We got up there, and the Wellington, like the brass razoo, were there playing. Solidarity Forever on their trumpets and stuff, and there was people from the Maritime Union there, and it was a really good feeling just to be able to take back that little part of our time, because we'd been suffering, I have to say. We were in a pretty difficult workplace at that time, and a lot of people had been suffering for a while, and so people were over it. People were not feeling very good, a little bit downtrodden, and had been put down a lot. And so to take back that little piece of time for ourselves and to go up into the sun, or sometimes it was windy and rainy because it's Wellington, so typical, actually made us feel pretty good. And when we came up and there were people there from First Union and other unions had come to support us, and there was some sort of workers groups and socialist groups as well that would come along or send some people every week to support us, that really made a difference to us, feeling good and like we were supported in what we were doing. And we did that every week for, I think, a year. And we must have cost that company thousands and thousands of dollars. Ultimately, we didn't get our collective agreement, but everyone did get a pay rise. Funnily enough, everyone except for me. I'm sure that had nothing to do with the fact that I was the union delegate, though. Nothing at all. But, we actually had a pretty good time doing it. And we took everyone with us, mostly. There's a couple left behind who, wanted to suck up to the boss or whatever, and who knows what they're doing now. I'm sure they were doing big, amazing things with their lives because they spent all that time sucking up, I don't know. But, we actually achieved something through doing that, and it wasn't just the fact that everyone got a pay rise, and of course all the people who didn't come out and strike got it as well, the scabs. But what we actually really achieved was teaching a group of young workers, mostly very young workers, that they had the power to take back control of their own lives. And, they could change things. And ultimately, we did change a lot of things in that workplace. We had a lot of issues going on. And I would say they're mostly resolved now. And, a particular problem person was removed from the equation, and things were much improved after that. So, it really did achieve something. And I know that those workers have gone on, and I still keep in touch with a lot of them, and they've gone on now to actually know what their rights are in the workplace and know that they can do something about it if they get into a spot of bother, which is such a change from when we all arrived there not knowing what on earth we could do about that situation. Angelyse, you have been involved in industrial action, but only as an organiser. What's your view on it? What's your take?
Well, when I became an organiser, that was in 2013. I was new to strikes. I hadn't been in one, seen one, well, not in real life, but it was just on TV.
Yeah.
And so obviously it was a bit scary for me. And I was an organiser, so I had to get out and organise these strike action or industrial action with the workers, but it was good. It was actually the workers that actually took it up. And during the 2013, it was mainly around McDonald's and the current collective, and there was a breakdown in the relationship. And so the workers went out. It was mainly around breaks and pay, because they had taken, they have a clause in their contract where their breaks, if they miss it, is paid. Well, unfortunately, for over a year and a bit, they hadn't been paid for any of the breaks, and no one had noticed it. And so a lot of the workers felt angry about this, and so they took it. And I was looking after South Auckland. One memorable strike was around Auntie Sue out in South Auckland, and she's an older delegate. She was nearing her 60s, very vocal and very, true to union. She's a union hard person. Has been a union delegate for over 10 plus years on her work site. And so when we said we'll come and do some action there, she was like, yep, don't worry, you'll do it when I'm working. So she was working a night shift, and so we went out and we took everything, banners, information about why the workers are striking. And when we got there, she goes, well, it's on. And then she goes, and then we said, yep, it's on, so we'll wait for you at the front. And you should have seen her go right to the back and go, this is a strike, everybody out.
Awesome, Auntie Sue.
And after that, it was actually everyone was walking out, even the manager on duty. But we had to advise the manager on duty. She actually had to stay in to manage the store, or close it down and make sure cash policies were being followed to secure the site. And so all the workers walked out, and Auntie Sue was there guiding them. And that's one of the most memorable strike industrial action events for me, because I've seen younger people do it, but an older woman in a Macca's, and she's telling everybody, get out, this is a strike, everybody out. And everybody listened.
That's
and that
amazing.
day we had over about 20 workers walk out, and this was peak time, and it left the operations manager frustrated.
Yeah.
And then it didn't take long after that, a couple of weeks after that, they were able to sign off on a new contract.
It's such a good story, and it really shows you, how, industrial action should originate from inside the workplace and be led by people in the workplace, And again, it just comes back to what I was saying earlier, that a lot of people think, those union officials, they're leading their workers astray, which is rubbish. I mean, the people who are in charge of the union officials are the workers. They're the ones making decisions. Yeah, we just help them out. We just support them in whatever their decisions are. But it's those workers, it's people like Auntie Sue who go, everybody out, that actually make those decisions and make those things happen, and they get a good result from it a lot of the time. Something we should probably mention, just because I think it was interesting, is something that's happened recently over the last few weeks, is staffers from MB have taken industrial action. So MB is Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment.
I was there.
Angelyse was there,
strike.
so she's going to tell us about it. But I just thought, wow, the people that are supposed to have a handle on employment issues, the people who are supposed to know about, workers' rights and stuff, although let's remember what kind of government we're under, are going on strike and have had a breakdown, in their negotiations, and they're going on strike. And these are the people that we call up, to guide us. The workers call up to guide them, and the people who, do all the behind-the-scenes work for mediations and all that sort of thing, and they're on strike. I mean, doesn't that kind of tell you that there's something going wrong here in the system? Were you at the one on Queen Street, was it, Angelyse?
Yes, so me and Renee went to the one on Queen Street a couple of weeks ago, and that was attended by a couple of hundred workers. Also, most of the unions attended, waving their flags, and also a lot of the unionised workers from the other unions attended as well.
A couple of hundred workers, you say? That's a lot of workers. Was that outside?
So that started off at Britomart, and then they went up to Queen Street, or walked up to Queen Street, and just outside Aotea Square.
Is that where the mediation offices are?
I think so. We were just outside the Aotea Centre.
Oh, right. Yeah. I couldn't make it to that one. I was at a meeting, and then I came down to see if you guys were still there, and you must have been mid-March because they couldn't find you. But, you know, I just think that's interesting that the department that is supposed to have a grip on this stuff seems to be, you know, in a bit of a mess as well. And you know, their employer is the government, and obviously we don't have a very worker-sympathetic government. In fact, all they seem to do is find ways to make workers' life worse and more difficult, and even their own employees are unhappy with them.
In terms of the strike a couple of weeks ago with the MBIE, it was around a culture of mistrust at the super ministry.
A culture of mistrust.
So it was...
Sounds serious.
Yeah, well... the PSA National Secretary, she said, these people help set the standard for all New Zealand workers, but face unfair bosses who won't take them seriously in their own workplace.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it just tell you that there's something wrong here in this system? You know, if those guys are on strike. So, you know, I mean, I think it's great actually that they have done that, because I think probably that was a bit difficult for them, and probably, you know, took them a bit of thinking about, and you know, before they made that decision. But I think it's good. But let's just remember, though, you know, who their employer is, you know, the ministry, and who their minister is, and what kind of government we're under. And this is, it's kind of a sign of the times, I think. So we're going to go to a song now. This one is an absolute union classic, and if you don't know any union songs at all, you will still probably know this one. And this is a song that the Brass Razoo in Wellington were playing, which is a brass band made of union members, I think mostly postal workers. This is a song that they were playing as I came up the elevator with my crew on our first ever strike. This is the song that was playing. So this is a song called Solidarity Forever, and it's by Joe Glazer.
Inspiration through the workers' blood shall run. There can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Forever, for the union makes us strong. Now they have taken untold millions they never toiled to earn, but without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel could turn. We can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. And in our hands is placed the power greater than their hoarded gold, greater than the might of armies, magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
That was a bit of an old school union classic there. That was Solidarity Forever by Joe Glazer. There's many different versions of that song, and that's just the one that we felt like going with today. So you'll probably hear many other versions of it in future shows. I know that coming up, Joe's going to do one soon, and the whole show is going to be about union music and the lyrics behind it, and the culture of union music. So that'll be really interesting. That's coming up in the next few weeks. Today we've been talking about industrial action. We've gone over why people take it and examples of industrial actions, whether it be a strike or a go slow or a work to rule. We've discussed why, we're really putting the call out there for other union workers and the general public to get behind other workers when you see them on a strike, because there seems to be a slight... And you're in the minority, but there's a slight negative view out there sometimes of workers who stand up and do things. But, they're trying to do good things. They're not sort of arguing for people to be, treated badly. They're actually arguing for more people to be treated better. So I don't really see how that can be a bad thing. So we want you to really take that on board. And when you see someone, just at least give them a toot or a high five or something. And we've gone over our personal experiences of industrial action in the past as well. Myself as a worker, as a wee young worker, not knowing what on earth a union was or what my rights were, and then finding out, over the course of a year doing a strike every Friday for an hour. And we've discussed Angelyse's experiences as a union organiser as well, and the importance of having those workers leading it and having someone inside the store like a delegate really showing leadership on those issues. So shout outs to Auntie Sue. We'll probably have to have you on the show sometime. And if you miss any part of our show and you want to go back and listen to it over again, then you should log on to www.planetaudio.org.nz/workers voice, or you can go and check out our blog. We update that blog a lot, sometimes several times a day, so you can find out all about what is happening in the world of Unite Union, and that's at www.unite.org.nz. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And if you ever have a topic that you would like us to explore or discuss, you can email support@unite.org.nz and we will do our best to cover that. No hate mail, please. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Shanna Reader and my co-host is Angelyse Armstrong.
The last song for today is part of the union, The Straubs.
Amazed at what I am. I say what I think, that the company stinks. Yes, I'm a union man. When we meet in the local hall, I'll be voting with them all. With a hell of a shout, it's out, brothers out, and the rise of the factories fall. Oh, you don't get me, I'm part of the union. You don't get me, I'm part of the union. You don't get me, I'm part of the union. Till the day I die. Till the day I die. As a union man, I'm wise to the lies of the company spies. And I don't get fooled by the factory rules, 'cause I always read between the lines. And I always get my way if I strike for higher pay. When I show my card to the Scotland Yard, and this is what I say. Oh, you don't get me, I'm part of the union. You don't get me, I'm part of the union. You don't get me, I'm part of the union. Till the day I die. Till the day I die. Before the union did appear, my life was half as clear. Now I've got the power to the working hour and every other day of the year. So though I'm a working man, I can ruin the government's plan. I'm not too hard, but the sight of my car makes me some kind of Superman. Oh, you don't get me, I'm part of the union. You don't get me, I'm part of the union. You don't get me, I'm part of the union. Till the day I die. Till the day I die.
Thanks for listening to Workers' Voice. This show was produced by Unite Union. Listen to us every Saturday, 10:45 a.m. or anytime online at planetaudio.org.nz/Workers' Voice.
Tell me I'm wrong. I don't wanna be right. If you tell me I'm wrong. I don't wanna be right. If you tell me I'm wrong. I don't wanna be right. If you tell me I'm wrong. I don't wanna be right. Thinking that we could be something for real. Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Trying to reach the things that I can't see. Hold us back. When the mind comes forward, that calls the counteract. There exists no force that could ever hold us back. Gone with intention, unified expression. Together we're stepping forward. Collective envision uplifting. Side by side, ally, no competition. Unity creates steps to propel the mass. You excel through walls, keeping them